fabled heat, where magic meets desire. Subscribe to ignite the fantasy.
The forest tasted of iron and pine, a bitter tang coating my tongue, clinging to the back of my throat. It wasn't the clean, crisp scent of a healthy wood. It was the metallic reek of blood mingling with the resinous bite of the evergreens, a scent that mirrored the turmoil within me. Hours had blurred into a desperate, agonizing flight. Each stride sent jolts of pain through my legs, my paws sinking into the frozen earth with a soft crunch, each breath a searing ache that ripped through my lungs. The cold wasn't merely a temperature, it was a physical weight, pressing down on me, slowing me, trying to drag me into the oblivion of the snow. Moonlight fractured through the dense canopy, painting the forest floor in shifting patterns of silver and shadow. It revealed with cruel clarity the flickering torches of my pursuers. They were gaining on me, always. Werewolf hunts were a kingdom's cruel pastime, a barbaric display of masculine bravado fueled by fear and superstition. A way for the king to prove his strength, to remind his people who truly ruled. But tonight, the air thrummed with a resonance I hadn't felt in 5 years. A pull, a magnetic force that tugged at the very core of my being. Elia's. My human consciousness, fractured and fragile, struggled against the wolf's primal instincts, a desperate battle for control. The beast within, usually dominant, refused to yield completely. It sensed him too, the familiar scent overlaid with a tension that mirrored my own. We were trapped, cornered. The trees loomed like silent witnesses, their branches skeletal fingers pointing accusingly at the sky. I could smell the fear radiating from the men behind me, but it was overshadowed by something else. Anticipation. They wanted a kill, a trophy. A gunshot ripped through the silence, the sound echoing through the trees like a death knell. Agony exploded in my flank, a searing white-hot pain that stole the air from my lungs. I crashed to the ground, the impact jarring every bone in my body. A guttural snarl, a sound more animal than human, escaped my lips, the coppery taste of blood filling my mouth, warm and sickening. It wasn't a clean wound, it felt ragged, tearing. Footsteps crunched closer, slow, deliberate, each step a hammer blow against my dwindling hope. The scent of wood smoke and something else, something achingly familiar, intensified. A rifle barrel glinted in the moonlight, cold and unforgiving, aimed directly at my heart. My vision swam, blurring the edges of the world. I braced for the inevitable, for the final release from pain. Then he hesitated. Even in this monstrous form, a creature of shadow and claw, I saw the recognition flood his eyes, the shock that stole the strength from his grip. The rifle wavered, the barrel dipping slightly. Those eyes, gods, those eyes, the same storm gray that had once held mine captive beneath tangled silk, now wide with a horrified understanding. They were filled with a pain that mirrored my own, a grief that seemed to reach across the years. Leora. The sound of my name after all this time was a shard of ice twisting in my gut. It was a ghost of a memory, a whisper from a life I thought lost forever. I tried to shift, to force my vocal cords to form a response, but the bullet had found its mark too well. The wolf's growl dissolved into a whimper, a pathetic sound that betrayed my desperation. My limbs felt heavy, unresponsive. Behind him, voices rose in triumph, laced with impatience. Elias, did you get it? The king will be pleased. He didn't answer, he simply stared, his face drained of color, his jaw clenched tight. His voice, when it finally came, was a fractured whisper, barely audible above the pounding of my own heart. What have they done to you? Fragments of memory surfaced, unbidden and overwhelming. Elias and I, laughing amidst the blossoms of his father's orchard, the scent of apples and sunshine filling the air. His hands, roughened by steel from working the forge, tracing the delicate line of my collarbone, sending shivers down my spine. The feel of his lips, warm and tentative, against mine. The night they took me, shadows in black, their faces obscured by masks, their promises laced with cruelty. You will be stronger. You will serve a greater purpose. Now those same hands trembled as he knelt beside me, his nearness a dizzying wave of heat and pain. The scent of him, leather, bergamot, and something uniquely him, asterisk, a subtle blend of metal and warmth, overwhelmed my senses, momentarily eclipsing the agony. It was a scent I had dreamed of for years, a scent that had haunted my waking hours and filled my nightmares. I could feel the warmth radiating from his body, a stark contrast to the icy ground beneath me. He reached out, his fingers hovering over the wound, hesitant to touch. I wanted him to, needed him to, but I was afraid of what he would see, afraid of the revulsion that might flicker across his face. Leora, it's really you, he breathed, his voice thick with disbelief. He finally dared to touch me, his fingers gently probing the edges of the wound. I flinched, a whimper escaping my lips. Izzy, he murmured, his voice laced with concern. Just let me see. He was a healer, a skilled one. He'd always had a knack for mending things, for coaxing life back into broken objects. But could he mend this? Could he mend *me? I tried to focus on his touch, on the warmth of his hands, on the familiar scent that surrounded me. It was a lifeline, a fragile thread connecting me to the life I had lost, but the darkness was closing in, pulling me under. Elias, I managed to rasp, the sound barely a whisper. Run. No, he said firmly, his eyes meeting mine. I'm not leaving you. The voices behind him grew louder, more insistent. Elias, what are you waiting for? Finish it. He ignored them, his focus solely on me. He was risking everything, his position, his life, for a creature the kingdom had deemed a monster. Why, after all this time, after everything that had happened, why was he still looking at me with that same haunted tenderness? He pressed a cloth against my wound, attempting to staunch the bleeding. It stung, but it was a welcome sensation, a sign that he was still fighting. Hold on, Leora, just hold on. I wanted to believe him, wanted to believe that there was still hope. But the wolf within was weakening, its grip on my consciousness slipping. The cold was seeping into my bones, and the darkness was beckoning. I closed my eyes, surrendering to the inevitable. Then I felt his lips brush against my forehead, a fleeting, desperate kiss. And in that moment I knew he hadn't forgotten. He hadn't forgotten me or the life we had shared, and that, more than anything, was enough.